Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into talking about the game, what happened, how it all went down. It started beautiful scene with Chris Hoy bringing the match ball out. Really, I mean, Scotland do this kind of thing well, looking, celebrating their heroes, and Chris Hoy is definitely one of those. So all the best to him. And Ireland, started at a million miles an hour, to be honest. They got possession early, attacked from a scrum, and they looked on it today in terms of a lot of their fluency. They looked like they got their game on the pitch a lot more than they managed to do last week against England. Ended up getting a penalty, kick to the corner, and Nash eventually went over from a long Prendergast pass for 7-0 after 9 minutes. Scotland really, really struggling to get any kind of foothold in the game at all at that point. It was all Irish territory, pretty much all Irish possession. Anytime Scotland had the ball, they looked a little bit clunky, maybe a little bit nervous. And it was difficult. Omani dropped the kickoff, though, but Fagerson was penalised for pushing one of the Irish players. This was a real marginal call, and you've seen these go the other way recently. But also, you see players trying to win the penalty by just pushing over anybody in the vicinity. I'm not sure what this one was. I think it was such a tight call. It really could have gone either way, but it went against Scotland, which let them off the hook for that drop kickoff. And Scotland was struggling in the scrum. Porter was definitely getting the upper hand on Fagerson, no question about that. I think they won a few penalties and stuff like that as well. Then the big talking point of the first half, I think, or the big interesting refereeing decision was when Nash kicked through up the right-hand side and Van der Merwe basically charged into him from a 45-degree angle from the back, knocked him over. Van der Merwe got the yellow card, but not a penalty, yellow card, but not a penalty try. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about that? Did you think the referee got that one right? Did you think it was a probable try if the offence hadn't have happened? Do you even think it was an offence? Do you think maybe it was more shoulder to shoulder and it was a fair challenge? I think it was a really interesting one, because I think depending on how the referee saw it, you could come up with any kind of different decision there. Referee went with penalty and a yellow card, and it's hard to disagree with that as far as I'm concerned. So Ireland got the penalty there, went to the corner, but Scotland showed some incredible maul defence because Ireland really went for that maul. Scotland held them out, and there was a big tackle then from Darcy Graham on Nash, and this was like the big first moment in the game for Scotland. Up until that point, they're scrambling around, absorbing stuff. They hadn't really got anything going whatsoever. Darcy Graham had that big tackle on Nash, and it was a chance for Scotland to just get a foothold. The crowd lifted a little bit, and even though they were losing 7-0, getting towards 20 minutes, and they really hadn't done anything, that was a chance for Scotland to get on and pick their game up. What's this one here? 20 minutes. Knock on, Russell. Oh yeah, this was the kick through, This was well picked up by the referee because this was quite difficult to see. Russell went back to try and collect a kick, but as he did so, running back towards his own line, the ball went off his hand forward and Rory Darge caught it in front of where Russell was, therefore offside. Some referees might have given that as accidental, that he didn't realise the situation, didn't know that it had gone forward. But it was given offside. I think it was the right decision, which led to Doris being held up over the line. So Scotland and Ireland got held up twice during this period. So Scotland were really, really clinging on. And 7-0, they'd had virtually none of the game, but they're still in it at this point, although just absorbing a whole lot of pressure. So that's about 20 minutes in. Got some more comments coming through here. So let's see some of these. Christian McCann, Ireland for the Triple Crown. I'm assuming that's shorthand for... Oh, no, sorry, not the Triple Crown. The triple, as in 3 championships in a row. That's what you mean, isn't it, Christian? I'm sure. PP Conway. Great game, enjoyed it. Ireland versus France is the decider this year. It's shaping up that way. Although England might have something to say about it. You never know. You never know. And PP backs that up, actually. Oh, by the way, what a win for England. As an Irishman, I reluctantly admit I was shouting you on. Oh, dear Lord. Thank you, PP. Appreciate it. As I'm sure all the English fans do. It was a heck of a game, that one yesterday. Crazy, crazy game. But let's get back to Murrayfield. And you got some awareness of what the Scotland players were looking for after they held up Doris at that point. Drop out from underneath the sticks. And we all know Ireland love to play a set play from these situations. So you could hear it on the referee mic. One of the Scottish players shouted out, "Watch the funnies," which is just quality bit of commentary on the pitch, looking out for those special Ireland set plays, which I don't think, well, if they did attempt some today, Ireland, they weren't successful, because in recent times, some of those Ireland trick plays have been so glaringly, incredibly impressive, like the one last week when Ty Burns scored, that they're very obvious. But Scotland defended them well if they were attempted. Shortly afterwards, Scotland playing not terribly well with all their best players on the pitch, then lose two of their better players, Finn Russell and Darcy Graham, with a nasty head clash. Russell, bad, but Darcy Graham got the worst of it. He looked like he was knocked clean out, and very sadly. And this is where the 6-2 bench, I mean, obviously, best wishes to both of those. Hope they're both okay. Finn Russell certainly looked fine afterwards. Darcy Graham was sent off to hospital, but hopefully he'll be fine and comes through. But this is the gamble of the 6-2 bench. I mean, they were okay in the end, Scotland. There were no further injuries, but after 22 minutes, to empty all the backs you've got off your bench is not ideal. But as I said, it didn't actually affect them in terms of the actual gameplay. And I thought Tom Jordan did well at 10. He looked pretty assured there, to be honest. He just slotted straight in. And I would say Stafford McDowell actually probably he had a more impressive game this week than he did last as well. So well done to him. Ireland kicked a penalty soon after for 10-0. And 10-0 after 23 minutes felt like a fair score. Maybe Ireland could have been even further ahead. But Ireland let Scotland back in a little bit with a Bundy Aki penalty, getting in front of a kick receipt, which led to some good Scotland attack. But that man, Peter O'Mahony, back in the side today, he had some good moments. And this was one where he won a turnover at the breakdown to just absolutely stop that Scottish momentum dead that they just got down. Also, Scotland were kicking the ball and getting charged down. I think they got charged down 3 times in the first half an hour, which, again, when you're under pressure, just being able to clear your lines, just being able to get the ball at the other end of the pitch is such a relief. And they really struggled to do that at times. Caelan Doris scored in the 35 minutes after 31 minutes. And this came from a big scrum by Porter. I said it earlier, Porter was doing a job on Fagerson, to be fair. I think Fagerson was just hitting too high. And Porter's a strong man, and that was it. He was dominating him really in international scrums. That was domination in that first half an hour. They got up the left hand side, back to Doris, who clattered over for 17-0. I said when we're talking about Prendergast for the man of the match, he did make a few errors, and one came shortly after that when he got passed the ball back into his 22 and then kicked it out on the full. Again, this gave Scotland a foothold which they were struggling to get for themselves. But Peter O'Mahony, that man, I'm pretty sure it is Peter O'Mahony. I didn't see for sure, but he stole the line out. And that was Scotland's best platform up until that point. It took them 35 minutes to get any kind of foothold in the Irish 22, and it was gone immediately. But they did manage to get back down there. They got a line-out drive, which was stuffed, which led to an Ireland scrum. And then there was a really great moment here for Rory Darge, who I thought was absolutely outstanding. He was brilliant last week. And I think, if anything, in sort of a rearguard action today, when a lot of the players around him were struggling a little bit against the Irish, I thought Darge was outstanding. So many carries, so many tackles. And it was his tackle on Doris, which led to a penalty and an unreal Scottish try. I mean, this was such good passing, And Duhan van der Merwe's finish in the corner was absolutely world class. Of course, it came from the McDowell offload as well, which drew in Van der Fleer. It was a quality try, that absolutely unbelievable. And that 17-5 at half time just gave Scotland a glimmer of hope, because they really hadn't got hardly any of their game on the pitch in that first half. They've lost 2 good players, down to 0 backs on the bench, but 17-5 sounded a whole lot better than 17-0. That is for sure. Okay, let's get through some more comments here. Lawless thinks Ty Burns should have got man of the match. Yeah, I think he went pretty well today. I thought a lot of the Irish players did well. Kevin Callaghan, JGP was class again. Yeah, he was, like he always is. It's almost monotonous now. It's almost boring how good he is every single game. His ability to just nail the right, select the right option in chaotic situations is wild. And we'll come to a really good defensive thing he did later on. I think I've got that noted down. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, he'd stopped a certain Scottish try on Kinghorn when he was clear through. Half-time, these were the notes I made. Irish line speed. So Scotland didn't have a lot of ball, but what they did have was just absolutely destroyed by the Scottish line speed. They got up, they got in their faces, they harried, and Scotland were just a little bit clunky. They were just a bit off their sort of fluid handling best, and Ireland really took advantage of that, pressured them in, and Scotland made errors. It was a bit stop-start with the injuries, as I've already mentioned. And overall, with a game like this, with all the hype going into it, you want to see both teams get their best game on the pitch. And I don't think that was Ireland's best game, and it certainly wasn't Scotland's best game. So it was a little bit disappointing in that regard, although it was still a very sort of compelling game. So into the second half, and I need to start another beer. Cheers. And Jack Dempsey. So Scotland actually started the second half really well. They got some momentum. Dempsey had a big carry, and again, this was something that's a criticism that's been labelled at this Irish player. Prendergast, not the biggest, not the strongest. He's not going to whack people back in the tackle. And Dempsey got some good go forward through Prendergast's channel, which led to a penalty after some actual cohesive Scottish play for pretty much the first time in the game. 8-17. Scotland kicked that one. And they managed to just maintain momentum. They managed to just get down there again, actually look after the ball when they had it. And actually, they got down there from an incredible Jordan pass. And you look at this and go, Henshaw's made an error there. And sure, he probably has, right? But just the length of that pass and how fast he fizzed it drew Henshaw into thinking that he could make an interception when he couldn't. And that was, I would rather praise the quality of that pass from Jordan than criticise Henshaw. Henshaw could have been really passive there and stayed back and then gone across and made the tackle anyway. But he went for the big play, didn't come off. This was the Gibson Park one, because Kinghorn almost scored from that, but Gibson Park got back and tackled him. Robbie Henshaw knocked on in the tackle after that. That was a bit discussion about that one as well, whether that was deliberate or whether it was just in the tackle. Again, with these, it all comes down to what the referee thinks. It was a very close one, I think, as far as I'm concerned, but I think he got that one correct as well. I think it was just Henshaw making a tackle. The arm has to go round the player. There's a chance that it's going to hit the ball as it does. I think they got that one right. But Scotland had momentum at this point, and the Scottish scrum was much better in the second half. I've been there in situations. I used to play prop, and sometimes you just need a half-time break to get yourselves together and go, right, what's going wrong here? What do we need to do? What things do we need to improve? Fagerson was much lower in his scrum position in the second half, and he had Porter pinned down, which is what you've got to do with Porter, because he's too strong if you leave him, in a good position. Jamie Dobie nearly got over in the corner, but there was a penalty for offside, again kicked by Kinghorn, and now 11-17, 10 minutes into the second half, and it's game on. Absolutely game on. And it didn't feel like it should be, because Ireland had dominated almost everything, but it was game on. until the kickoff. And I've no idea what happened here. I know what happened, but I don't know which player it was. I'd need to see a replay. Scotland won the kickoff with Ferguson. And then as he was tackled to ground, I'm sure there was an Irish hand in there that forced a bit of a Scottish knock on. I couldn't quite see who it was. I need to look at it again. But I think that was dark arts by Ireland to get the grip of the game back, just stop that Scottish momentum, which has started to build back within a score. They scored the last two sets of points. Yeah, I'm really keen to look at the replay of this game and figure out who did that and how it happened. But I'm pretty sure there was an Irish hand in there, which, you know, if you get away with it, you get away with it. It's still part of the game nowadays. So fair play to whoever that was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Omani, and it would have been the last thing he did, I think, because he got subbed off soon after that. Okay, shortly after that, Jameson Gibson Park almost scored in the corner when he did it. Like, the chip over Kinghorn was so beautifully, delicately done at full pace. It was incredible skill. It was just like, it was probably too delicate because he probably needed the ball to be a little bit further so he could use his momentum to get past Kinghorn. But being a little bit short and Kinghorn being a lot taller, with that ball up in the air, Kinghorn was always going to win it. He spent about a minute and a half trying to avoid dotting the ball down behind his lines so he didn't concede the scrum. But he couldn't in the end. There was nothing to be done. He had to do it. And that led to more Irish pressure with Lowe. A really brilliant finish, actually, from James Lowe. Squared up to catch the ball and then just bounced out left to get around Kinghorn and power over. Nearly got held up again. Actually, the Scottish did so well to nearly hold him up, but he got the ball down for 11:24. 60 minutes, Gibson Park chips over the middle. Almost certainly Hugo Keenan would have called this. He would have been his eyes because it was Keenan that got through. Keenan was tackled in the air but played advantage, and Conan crashed over. I mean, within minutes, Scotland were back in the game for, I would say, 30 seconds after it got to 11:17. And then Ireland just ripped it away from them again with those two tries. And at 60 minutes, I mean, I wrote down here, game over, because it pretty much was at that point. I couldn't see, Scotland weren't creating enough to get back that amount of points. There's a nice moment on 63 minutes when, I bet this has never happened before, a reserve hooker threw an intercept pass to the other reserve hooker, Dan Sheehan to Ewan Ashman. I'd love statistically to know if that's ever happened in a game of rugby before. It might have done, but not often, I wouldn't have said. But at this point, it felt like the players knew that the game was over as well, because the intensity really died. Everything went a little bit flat. You could hear it in the stadium as well. It just all went a bit flat. Lots of errors, all turned a little bit kind of bitty. Lots of stoppages and stuff like that. But Ireland committed to ending the game by kicking another penalty after a scrum. Ben White got over late, which he deserved. I thought he played well today, and man, he fights for everything. So I thought he was so combative that he really deserved that score. But ultimately, 18-32. I don't know. That's probably about right, I guess. But it felt like Ireland had this game by the scruff of the neck early and never, ever let it go. Briefly at the start of the second half, but even then they grabbed it back so emphatically that it almost, not toying with Scotland, that's disrespectful, but it felt like Ireland maybe still even had another gear to go if they needed to, I think. So there we go. That's what we think here for this game. What does it mean for the rest of the tournament? Well, Ireland 2 for 2. At the end of this game, it was always going to be one side left that can do a grand slam, and that team's Ireland. They've got to beat France still, which will be their big game left in the tournament. England plays Scotland. So that's kind of now looking like, I don't know. The thing is with this tournament, it can still go any way. If France beat Ireland, then it's wide open again. And I think that's what everybody else, apart from the Irish people, will be hoping for. But there we go. We'll call this one there. I'm just going to get on with Elko now, and we're going to do a full proper in-match review. So we'll get the Irish perspective there as well. He can tell me about all the Irish players that he thought played well. And we'll get that out for you this evening. We are also going to be doing, I've got Matt coming back on again for another ref review this evening. So if you've got any referees questions, any incidents this weekend that you've got questions about, then we'll absolutely address those and get that video out for you tomorrow. As always, it's not an opportunity to bag referees. It's an opportunity to learn about the laws and see what the referees might be thinking or might be considering when they're applying the rugby laws. A little bit on that. So World Rugby are being constantly requested to simplify the law book. However, the way the laws are written can't account for everything that happens in a game of rugby. So there always has to be some kind of referee interpretation, some kind of referee thought process. The law book is just a guideline to officiate the game. So we have to always look at what the referees do, try and understand what they saw, or how they applied the laws. And sometimes you may disagree, and that's fine. There's a lot of these decisions are not black and white, and we have to sort of respect that grey. So that's what we'll be doing when we talk about the laws later and some of the incidents that have happened this weekend. There's some good questions around the line out, and the non-competition can be not straight. And there's some good examples from that this weekend. So we'll get into that later for sure. Oh, we got another question here. Oh, okay. It's interesting. I didn't spot this one myself. The tap penalty before the Scottish try. Which one? Which one would that have been? I'm not sure. I don't think it was tapped. That's the Scottish try. Should have been disallowed. That's correct. Yeah. If you don't tap the ball, then I think the referee's decision is to give a scrum to the other side. I didn't see that myself, but yes, if it wasn't tapped, then that's correct. Okay, we'll bring this one to an end though. It was a very interesting weekend of Six Nations rugby. Oh, we got Jason Wall here. I thought it wasn't tapped either. But it then looked like he got the slightest nip on it. Okay, so a marginal call. I always think with these things, if these calls are marginal like this, leave it to be the most positive result for the game. And the most positive for the result for the game typically is we want to see flow. We want to see players playing. We don't want to see the referee blowing his whistle, really, unless he has to manage the game. So, yeah, if it's marginal, as far as I'm concerned, let it go. Let the players play. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed your Six Nations weekend. 3 very, very different games this weekend, all very interesting in their own right. And, yeah, we'll get some more content out for you over the course of this week. Rest weekend next weekend. Enjoy your time off. Go and watch some local rugby. Get down to your local club. Support them. And I will see you very soon. Don't forget to subscribe and all that stuff. Take it easy, guys. Bye.